Hello and welcome to the Met Office 10-day trend, covering the rest of August and therefore the rest of meteorological summer and, of course, the rest of the school summer holidays. Now, there's been a big contrast north to south this week so far across the UK and, in fact, across much of Europe. We've got this cooler air across northwestern parts of the UK, whilst further south, some warm sunshine, but further south again, central and southern France, much of Iberia seeing at the moment a heat wave, some intense heat here, high 30s, low 40s in places. And if you were watching the 10-day trend last week or the deep dive on the Met Office YouTube channel, you'll know that there was a lot of uncertainty about this week and the north-south position of this intense heat. One or two rogue computer model runs had this intense heat much further north, but we were saying at the time these were outliers. And the majority of computer model runs were keeping things fairly cool and changeable across northern parts of the UK with some warmth towards the south. Some of these model runs were also indicating severe thunderstorms on the boundary between the heat in the south and the cooler stuff further north. And in fact, that's what we're going to see across northern France on Wednesday night going into Thursday. Low pressure over Iberia moves north. At the same time, the jet stream, a dip in that, moves across central parts of the UK and eventually swings in and interacts with that intense heat and the boundary between the hot air across France and the cooler air across northern parts of the UK to produce some very lively showers and thunderstorms across northern France and parts of the English Channel on Wednesday night into Thursday. But as that jet stream swings south, it displaces the heat elsewhere across the continent and brings the cool, changeable stuff that is currently across northern parts of the UK to the rest of the UK, to much of Ireland, into France as well. And you can see how those colours are turning much cooler. Low pressure then deepens as we go into the weekend, and we're into this more changeable, cooler airflow for the start of what is, for many people in the UK, a long weekend. But let's take a look closely at the thunderstorms that we're expecting over northern France on Thursday morning, because they're not just going to affect northern France, they're going to affect southern parts of the UK, or at least the boundary of them are, in terms of heavy rainfall. So these are the intense showers and thunderstorms, and some showers of a non-thundery variety predominantly will affect southern parts before eventually this whole thing becomes more organised into quite a complex but organised area of thundery outbreaks. And some uncertainty about this, but it does look likely that some of the heavy rain on the boundary of that will extend into the southeast of England. But most of the serious kind of hail and lightning will be confined to northern France. Once that spell of heavy rain on Thursday morning in the southeast is out of the way, we go back to showers across southeastern parts for later in the day. And for the rest of the UK, actually, there will be some heavy rain clearing the north and northeast of Scotland, pushing into Orkney by lunchtime and then eventually Shetland. Scattered showers follow for western and central Scotland, Northern Ireland as well, one or two for northern England. A central swathe of the UK, Wales, the Midlands, parts of northern England seeing mostly fine conditions, southwest England after some showers early on clearing up. But there always the potential for some further rain or showers there in the southeast because we're closer to that area of low pressure moving through the continent. Still some warmth though for the southeast, 25 Celsius there for London. I think a cooler airflow for the rest of the UK. This cooler air is sinking south, and that's the theme as we go through the rest of Thursday and into Friday. Low pressure deepening to the northeast of the UK with various old occluded fronts providing a focus for showers. But all in all, it's basically a showery northwesterly airflow, what we call a polar maritime air mass on Friday, and the same again on Saturday with that low pressure in the North Sea and a mixture of sunny spells and showers for many, but where we've got these occluded fronts, perhaps a focus for showers, perhaps some longer spells of rain as well. I think towards the southeast it will be much drier and brighter, and on Friday some decent sunny spells, especially during the morning before the cloud builds, and a cloudy picture for many by the afternoon with quite a number of showers coming through, and you can see how some of these will be more organised into longer spells of rain, especially for Scotland, and for parts of South Wales and southwest England some lively downpours. But in between the showers there will be some brighter spells, although it will be a cool airflow, temperatures back down towards average for many, I think a bit cooler than average in some spots. Saturday, similar conditions. Sunny spells for many as we begin things, the cloud builds, the showers come through on that unstable polar maritime airflow. Certainly lively showers in places, rumbles of thunder and so on, but equally other areas will escape a lot of the showers, especially towards the south and southeast, eastern Scotland, for example, and see some sunny spells. But you can see how those temperatures are declining day by day, and that's one aspect of the forecast that we're fairly confident about. Temperatures in London at the moment 27 Celsius, dropping over the next few days progressively back to around 21 Celsius by later in the weekend and the start of next week, and flatlining really throughout much of next week. Glasgow, on the other hand, is already in that cooler, more changeable airflow, and so little change here. We just keep it. So it's an evening up. We lose that north-south contrast. We're all in the same boat by the weekend, essentially. And that boat has low pressure involved in it, and another low, in fact, coming along to the northwest of Scotland for Sunday, bringing a series of weather fronts, bringing a spell of rain early on across Scotland and Northern Ireland, pushing by the afternoon into northern and western England as well as Wales. A bright start towards the southeast, cloud builds, rain by evening, but this whole system is weakening as it sinks southeastwards, so not much rain associated with it. Showers follow for northwestern parts of the UK. So how can we summarise the weekend? Well, essentially Friday to Sunday, we've got low pressure in control. That's going to be situated mainly to the north or northeast of the UK, bringing a cool northwesterly airflow and average or slightly below average temperatures. There'll be some rain, some heavy showers at times, but also some sunshine. The winds aren't going to be particularly strong, and the rain isn't going to be particularly prolonged, I don't think. It's more showery stuff, and so certainly the potential for getting out and doing stuff, but worth paying attention to the Met Office radar and forecast rain on the Met Office app, just to plan your day around the weather if you've got stuff to do outside through the weekend. And of course, it's a bank holiday weekend for not for Scotland, for Northern Ireland, for England and for Wales. And of course, at the moment, we are heading towards peak tropical cyclone season in the Atlantic. It's always the case that these little features in the tropical Atlantic throw up some uncertainty for the late August bank holiday, and this year's no exception. It's this one we've got our eye on for this weekend. Now, this is rewinding the clock to Thursday, the day after I'm recording this, and this is ex-tropical cyclone or ex-tropical storm Emily. Now, it may well develop back into Tropical Storm Emily as it gets picked up by some upper-level winds over the next couple of days. But either way, it's an area of low pressure that is of interest because it moves north and gets picked up by the jet stream. And when these small but very energetic systems get picked up by the jet stream, well, they can often throw a spanner into the works and involve some uncertainty for the forecast into the future because they're so small but they're so full of energy that subtle differences in how they interact with the jet stream can have big consequences several days into the future. Not only that, but there's another low to watch out for as we head into the weekend. In fact, there's three here. Let's just talk about them for a moment. Here's the low that's bringing some rain on Sunday. This one is ex-tropical storm Emily being picked up by one branch of the jet stream, but there's another branch of the jet stream coming out of Canada, potentially picking up this low near Iceland. So once the low that we're fairly confident about moves through on Sunday, we've got two other lows in the mix heading towards the UK, being picked up by two separate branches of the jet stream. Needless to say, it's all very complicated, and the computer models are all disagreeing about how the jet stream or how these different branches of the jet stream deepen or don't deepen these various areas of low pressure. What does the Met Office model do? Well, it actually starts to focus its energy on the low to the north, and that's the low that drives forward for Bank Holiday Monday. Emily, the ex-tropical storm, disappears, hardly anything by the end of Bank Holiday Monday. So this situation would mean that we've got early rain clearing the southeast, a fine interlude for much of the day on Bank Holiday Monday before the low to the north arrives and continues that theme of sunny spells and showers or perhaps longer spells of rain towards the northwest of the UK and a cool airflow. That's what the Met Office computer model run shows, and here's a different way of showing that. This is midnight on Monday night. A number of lines here, blue and reds, showing cold fronts and warm fronts and so on. But this is the pressure pattern. Here's the UK, you can just about make it out hopefully, and there's the low to the northwest of the UK. But if we look at the same time frame and the European model, well, what that does is it picks up, actually this is the next day with the Met Office model, I beg your pardon, and it's showing a similar thing. Cool and showery northwesterly airflow, low pressure by this stage moving into the North Sea. Emily, the ex-tropical storm, nowhere to be seen. But if we go back to the end of Bank Holiday Monday and the European model, well, that focuses its energies on deepening ex-tropical storm Emily into a typical mid-latitude area of low pressure, not a tropical storm at this stage. And that's heading towards the UK. But before that arrives, it throws up a ridge of high pressure. That would lead to a mostly fine day on Monday after any early rain clears from the southeast. But watch what happens by Tuesday. That low pressure heads towards southern and southwestern parts of the UK to bring some unsettled weather here, some longer spells of rain and so on. And then that low just hangs around across southern parts of the UK throughout much of next week. This is next Thursday, drier towards the north. So the Met Office model and the European model are disagreeing in terms of which of those lows is the one that's going to deepen. And that's all to do with the different streams of the jet stream and, of course, developments in the tropical Atlantic over the next couple of days. And we don't just look at one run of the Met Office or the European models. We run those models many, many times. And it's useful to look at the most likely scenario that's coming out of, for example, the European ensemble for next week. And this is running the model 50 times, and it's showing the most likely low pressure scenario for the middle of next week. It's actually got low pressure further north, and that's because although the main run of the European model has low pressure to the south, many others have it further north. So when we're faced with so much uncertainty, what exactly do? We look at common themes. We look at things that all the models agree with, and what they're all agreeing with for next week is low pressure will be centred over or close to the UK. It's going to be unsettled. There'll be spells of rain or showers, and it's also going to be cooler than average. They can all agree on that. It's just a bit of a disagreement right at the moment in terms of whether it's low pressure just over the south or low pressure over the north of the UK. Those are the things that we've got to iron out over the next couple of days. Either way, they'll start to agree a bit more by the start of September, because that ex-tropical storm either way moves out of the way. And then they're all suggesting that low pressure will become increasingly towards the north of the UK to bring a mixture of sunny spells or longer spells of rain to the northwest, drier conditions to the south. And this trend continues for the first few days of September. This is the most likely scenario for the 3rd of September, for example. That's a Sunday. Higher pressure building into southern areas, staying changeable in the north. So yes, some uncertainties, mainly centred around how these ex-tropical storms will behave in the next few days, but it looks likely that a cool and changeable weather pattern prevails through next week before some more settled weather in the south for the start of September. Bye-bye.